Hello everybody, my name is Matteo Restia. I'm a mechanical engineer and we're going to talk about rope, inspection and ISO 4309. How the magnetic inductive method was introduced in the ISO 4309? The magneto-inductive method was born at the beginning of the 20th century in the ropeway sector, where safety criteria have always been the strictest. In the following years, the technology evolved. The devices became smaller, lighter and cheaper. Since in around the 80s, they aroused the interest of the heavy lifting sector. Since the early 2000s, the technology began to be used widely, especially in the offshore sector, where ropes operate in a very harsh environment. The usefulness of the method is so relevant that the ISO 4309 in 2010 indicated the magnetic inductive method as a valid aid for the visual inspection. In 2017, the last version of the ISO 4309 was released. The magneto rope testing was included in the table for the assessment method for the correct evaluation of the rope status, and special discard criteria were defined, and officially the magneto-inductive method became an official aid for the visual inspection and the preferred method for internal inspections. Why is the magneto-inductive method so important for wire rope inspections? Since the magneto-inductive method was introduced in the ISO 4309, it is a valid aid for the operator for avoiding subjective evaluations. The magneto-inductive method must always be associated with a visual inspection. The operator detects visible defects and correctly compiles the test report. If defects are not visible but highlighted by the magnetic rope test, the operator rates the severity of these defects as defined by the regulation. Often, the magnetic rope test is the only way to carry out an internal inspection. Are inspections defined by the regulations? Yes, if the manufacturer follows the EN 12385, the inspector must always be in compliance with the ISO 4309. The standard define and establish the general principle for care, maintenance, inspection and discard for the wire ropes operating on cranes and hoists. The regulation states the assessment method for any type of defect can occur on a rope. It provides realistic discard criteria and gives a method for evaluating the combined effect of deterioration at any position of the rope. The Table 1 of the standards lists the more common modes of deterioration and whether each can be readily quantified or needs to be subjectively assessed by the competent person. For all these modes of deterioration, the competent person must express a severity rating, which is the result of the relative assessment method. For example, regarding the reduction in diameter, the measurement is necessary, whilst, regarding the number of visible broken wires, counting is the appropriate method. Inspector must evaluate wear and corrosion inside and outside the rope. Furthermore, they must evaluate the loss of metallic section caused by internal and external broken wires. It is well known that some specific defects generate in the inner parts of the rope. In this case, it is almost impossible to perform a visual inspection. For this reason, the ISO 4309 assessed the magnetic rope test as the preferred method for loss of metallic area caused by broken wires, loss of metallic area caused by mechanism other than broken wires, and for corrosion, whether if it's external, internal, and fracting. Thanks to this specific methodology, the competent person is able to inspect the mode of deterioration as prescribed by the regulation. Then, how can a person know if a rope manufacturer is following the EN 12385? In the European community, the ISO 4309 is claimed by a harmonized regulation, the EN 12385. Every rope commercialized in Europe must follow the EN 12385, and it should be written in the specific rope maintenance and use manual. This compliance with this latter regulation provides a presumption of conformity with the relevant essential requirements of the Directive 98/37 EC. For this reason, the rope manufacturers have two options: following the regulation and claiming it on their use and maintenance manual as inspection procedure. Otherwise, they must issue a rope certificate defining different discard criteria and assessment method that must be as safe as the ones in the ISO 4309. And what if there is no use and maintenance manual? It could happen that the use and maintenance manual is not available. In this case, it should be mandatory to follow the relative regulation. In case of rope inspection, is the ISO 4309. Anyway, the laws of the country you're performing the inspection in must always be followed.